Good afternoon. I'm with Gwen Preston of West Red Lake Gold Mines. West Red Lake had big news today with the announcement of commercial production at the Madsen Mine. Congratulations, Gwen.
Thank you so much. It's an exciting day for sure.
Yeah, so let's go through some of the numbers in the news release. So I don't think this was a shock to investors. I mean, at least it wasn't a shock to me, but it's still great confirmation to get this news today. And it looks like things are ramping up even further at Madsen. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ramp up it's a methodical thing, right? Like it seems it's totally understandable for those who haven't like been part of, especially an underground gold mine or an underground mine, to think that these things can sort of happen fast, but they just can't. It's about getting the process ticking. And that just takes time. All the people have to be on the right page and have to, be doing things safely and, properly and then quickly, right? In that order. And, people are an ongoing flux and you're training them and you're getting them going and there's new areas and you're figuring out challenges. You're building out the team as you go. Even when you start up the mine, you haven't built out, for example, your whole technical services team, you're still recruiting more engineers and more of this and that. So, you build it up as you go through this ramp up phase. And so it's a methodical step-by-step thing. So yeah, we, turned this mine on in June and we stepped the production up higher through the second half of 2025. And once we hit December, I was just at site last week and like this feeling was really cool. There is a process in place and everybody knows what to do and how to do the process. And so it's about executing that process every day, but it's no longer about figuring out what the process should be. I feel like that's like maybe the layman's description of the difference. We're not figuring out the process anymore. We're executing it every single day. So yeah, December was a fantastic month at the mine. We poured, what was the number? We poured
3,200.
Yeah, 3,215 ounces of gold in December. So a great month. And like that tonnage number is almost the number that matters the most to us. So 689 tons per day average through the mill. That's really what you got to step up. You got to make sure that you're reliably, our mill isn't sort of the critical path there. It's the mine. You got to make sure that the mine is producing the tons every single day. And of course, you're not just blasting 689 tons, you're also blasting to get access to the new areas. So there's development tons and there's mining tons, and you got to make sure all of these things are happening. So yeah, December was a really good month, and you can feel that on site. You can feel the sort of efficiency, the understanding, the knowledge, the process all on site. And yeah, looking forward from here is really exciting because, we've said from the beginning that the first reason to get the Madsen Mine back into production is for the opportunity in the deposit as we know it. And then the other reason is because we are very confident that there's more. And we sort of have we have the pulse of where there's more right now. And we're advancing a lot of particular projects to pull those into the scene in the sort of near term, medium term, and long term. So yeah, a really exciting day.
So something we talked about last time we spoke was why the first quarter of 2026 looks to be such a strong quarter at Madsen, because you're sort of getting into this higher grade zone there at South Austin. And the news release says that the mill feed is expected to average above 6 grams per ton gold in Q1, and that's versus a little more than 5 grams on average in Q4. So that's a substantial boost. Obviously, we have no control over the gold price, but the gold price right now is a little bit of a boost. What about the mill throughput in Q1? I mean, I guess you're approaching 700 tons per day. Should we expect it to stay about 700, or will it go above 700 tons?
So yeah, we said in the release we expect to be at permitted capacity in the middle of the year. So yeah, and 6 months is a long time. I'm not saying that we're going to wait until then. These things sort of ebb and flow a bit, but it's about averaging that amount. So it will continue to increase. And exactly when we hit sort of 800 tons per day average, we're not quite ready to know that yet, but it's going to keep increasing. And we are also, you know, you can put another roughly 100 tons per day through the mill, right, daily, to get up to that permitted capacity. The way to increase ounces is what you just noted, which is really through grade. And so that's about understanding our deposit and going to the places that are going to give us that opportunity. And so that's why we're mining 4447 right now. That's that area that you just referenced, that high grade zone in South Austin, where we put out all the hot drill holes through sort of the first half of 2025. We put out a lot of drill results from South Austin. Now we're in there and now we're mining it. And then in the end of 2025, we put out similar kind of hot drill results from Lower Austin. And that's getting towards an area called 904. There's sort of an edge to it, and then there's a chunk of it. Think of it like a music note, like coming down and then down into the music note. That's sort of, those results are kind of from the stick of the music note, and we're getting now down into the ball of the music note. That is an area that looks like it's shaping up similarly to 4447, like another really nice high grade, the kind of thing that we call jewelry boxes in Red Lake. And of course, we want to tee that up for production, you know, do it like we did with South Austin. We got that thing from, call it discovery, which is really what I mean by definition drilling, through to production in about 9 months. That's the goal, right? Let's find these high grade things, these sweet spots. Let's advance them as quickly as we can, and then let's start mining them, because that's like turning opportunity into value, like at hand, right? Instead of it being sort of a projection for future value, we want it to be something that our investors get to enjoy in this phenomenal gold market. So yeah, grade is the thing I think that's really going to help us or be dominant in the first quarter, because that 4447 is such a phenomenal area of mineralization.
So the full year of 2026, what is the goal in terms of total gold ounces for the full year?
Yeah, so we haven't put out official guidance yet. I mean, most companies do that sort of mid-February, so you can look for it roughly at something like that time frame. I mean, we're still ramping up, like we're still increasing the tons. And when you have a fixed cost mine like Madsen, which is to say about 70% of our costs are sort of fixed, right? It's labor predominantly. The amount of ounces you produce really determined your all-in sustaining cost, right? If you increase your ounces 20%, your all-in sustaining costs get a real improvement from that. So we're still in the ramp up year. And so Shane and I have been saying for 4 or 5 months now, you know, we're looking to produce about 50,000 ounces a year in 2026. Now, you know, like I say, we're still in a ramp up year. It might be a touch less than that, but that's the goal, is to get round in that ballpark. And we'll put out official guidance on that for the ounce range and costs in roughly a month.
So in Q1, it's 4447, like that area is the focus, but perhaps, you know, later in the year, you would go over to this other, higher grade area called the 904 complex.
Yeah, for sure. So 4447, and these aren't the only areas in play. There's other areas also being developed, drilled, mined, even right now. But these are, you know, you talk about the standout areas. So yeah, 4447, 4447. It's just more fun to say 4447 in the first quarter, and it actually goes into the second quarter as well, for sure. Like first 4 or 5 months, there's a lot from 4447. Then the goal is to bring 904 in later in the year. It's in the schedule, and then there's a bunch of other areas that obviously are, you know, that we mine in the time between that are also good. But you know, Red Lake is about mining good areas and then mining exceptional areas. That's sort of like what Red Lake mines are about. And so you just, you know, the way to make a Red Lake mine phenomenal, like, or to have a phenomenal year at a Red Lake mine, like so many of the years have been down the road for the various owners of the Red Lake Mine complex, is to tap into those jewelry boxes. So yeah, for sure. While we do the daily work of executing on mining the good mineralization, we also are working to push the exceptional mineralization to define it and get it to the mill as well.
Very good. So let's talk about the opportunities for growth in 2027 and onward. So the Fork deposit, obviously you were talking about the jewelry box potential at depth, so maybe even the 8 zone, and then the Rowan project as well.
Yeah, so there's so many projects on the go here. So Fork Fork's really cool because, like, if this is the Madsen Mine, I suppose for your viewers, it would be sort of this way, you know, plunging down, and we're mining our way down the deposit. Fork is right here. It's like so close. It's just right beside the west portal of our mine. Very easy to get to. And it's a difference maker. And it's a difference maker because it's an area that we expect it to be a difference maker. I should say this is still hypothetical because we don't, you know, haven't officially finished the drilling, but it has the potential to be a difference maker because, you know, it's nice. It will be nice to mine in an area that hasn't been mined in before. It's just easier, right? The rest of where we're mining, most of what we're doing, we're working around old workings, and that's okay. That's the nature of the Madsen Mine. As we get deeper, we'll get more and more opportunity to get into areas that haven't been mined before, and we look forward to that. But Fork is like a preview of that, like an unmined area that we get to early. And not only that, it's near surface, and so it's just logistically easy in the mine plan. Like, you go down, you drive across the connection drift, and you're there. And so in terms of getting people to it, scheduling the trucks, all that stuff, it's just easy to do. So it's just, yeah, it adds a nice chunk. We expect it to add a nice chunk of tons and ounces, easy scheduling, you know, easy engineering. And then getting out in that direction is also cool because there's other stuff over that way. So once we get far, we're going towards that other mine that's beside us called Sterrett Olsen. And, you know, there's a resource over at Sterrett Olsen. And as we go in that direction, there's, you know, now we're like, oh, let's go see what else we might be able to, what other value we might be able to unlock that's just sitting over there. So, you know, that's one cool thing. And the Fork program is progressing well. And we should be able to put out our first set of drill results on Fork sometime in the next month, I'd expect. Before we do that, I think we're going to be able to put out a set of drill results from Rowan. And Rowan's looking great. By great, I mean it's returning, you know, what looks like mineralization. So in turn to the geologists, from exactly the zones where we expect that to come. And that's the goal of this drill program, right? We want to, there's about 30% of the PEA mine plan is inferred. So we got to infill that. And then there's these two other veins that are a little bit offset that were not included in the PEA mine plan because they're very historic data, and they only sampled the really obvious quartz veins and they left the intervening sections unsampled. And so then you get this spotty database that doesn't look mineable. So we're conversion drilling, call it bring it up to modern, fill in the blanks drilling at those two. And if we can pull those into the mine plan, like those make a significant difference to the amount of ounces that could potentially be in the mine plan. So Rowan, and we're hitting what looks like mineralization in the areas where we expect for that body of work as well. So Rowan's looking really good. And keeping that drill program on schedule so that we can do this combined Madsen Rowan PFS roughly in the middle of the year, right? That'll show Fork as part of the mine plan. That will show us mining Madsen the way that we're actually mining Madsen, not at a super low gold price, but the way that we're actually mining it. And we'll show what the operation would look like with Rowan sending mineralization down as well. So let's keep it all on track to do that. And then, so those are the really near-term ones. And then there's even more, right? Like you say, there's the 8 zone that's down at depth. We're getting ourselves down low enough where at some point in the near term, it will make sense to do a bit of a drive out so that we can drill that thing with some, you know, at the right angle and at in a reasonable way. There's an area called Durlac that's, you know, call it North Austin Deeps. There's a surface, like there's lots of targets that now that we're through to go back to what we said at the beginning of the conversation, now that we're through the figuring out the process part of Madsen and we're into executing, that frees up some capacity to lean into all of these other opportunities and advance them and make sure that we can sort of just make the most of this really cool asset that we have on our hands.
So that's actually a really important catalyst that I don't think too many people have made note of, is the pre-feasibility study for Madsen and, you know, Rowan later this year. And that will include Fork, you know, as you just said. And then that'll sort of set the stage for where this company could be 3 to 4 years from now, getting close to that 100,000 ounces of gold run rate per year there in Red Lake. So that's definitely something to, you know, look forward to. And you just kind of gave us a teaser, more results coming from Rowan and Fork over the next few months. Let's talk about the capital market side of things. I mean, first of all, what does it feel like to be a gold producer, a junior gold producer in January 2026 at $4,500 an ounce gold? And what are the opportunities for West Red Lake to get into some of these big gold exchange traded funds in 2026?
Two very great questions. So, I mean, we had a small gold sale this morning. It's called residuals. It's not a real pour, but it's some of the sort of the cleanup between pours is what residuals are. So there was a few dozen ounces that we were able to sell today above $4,600 US, right? Like this market is just unbelievable. So yeah, feels very satisfying for everybody on the team. You know, that there was this idea 3 years ago to get, or 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, to get to do this, to take this thing and make and re-engineer it and do all the work and then get it set up and get it into production for the gold market that we thought was going to happen. So super gratifying that that's what's happening. Really exciting from, you know, from a shareholder perspective, because I do think that the company remains pretty undervalued for the fact that we're now a producer in this market. And yeah, we had to shake off a shadow, right? There was a shadow on this asset. We're still shaking it off, but like today's announcement is a big part of shaking off that shadow. So I think it's really exciting as a shareholder of the company to sort of see the opportunity that's ahead of us now in this market, now that we've sort of done the work and gotten to this point. And then on the index inclusion, absolutely. So we upgraded from the OTCQB to the OTCQX just before Christmas, which is helpful. There's, you know, it increases the opportunity for institutions, US institutions often, to participate in the company. And then we do now meet the requirements for GDXJ inclusion. We met them even in December. GDXJ reconstitutes its list twice a year, so at the end of Q1 and at the end of Q3. So we expect that we will be included in the GDXJ when they reconstitute in 2 and a bit months. So that's a pretty exciting thing ahead for us as well, to just, you know, because of the buying that fund represents, especially in this market, but also because, you know, there's certainly institutions that follow that list, because it's a good list of, you know, who are the gold miners out there. So definitely some catalysts coming on the capital market side for sure. And of course, they are coming at a moment when we do not need to tap the capital markets anymore. We have $46 million Canadian in the bank. We're making money, right? Like it's just it's a fantastic position to be in, and the gold market is obviously a big part of that.
Yeah, it is. It's with some of these larger gold and silver miners, it feels like right now when the market's open, it's like an elephant trying to get through a small door frame on some of these days. Like it's pretty amazing some of these moves in $15 billion market cap companies. It's something that we're not used to. I got to ask you a tough question, because I had a conversation with an investor last week, and I mentioned Red Lake as an attractive junior gold miner with a good profile of growth over the coming years. And he looked at the share structure. He said, "There's 165 million warrants. I can't buy a stock with that many warrants." What would you say to that investor?
Absolutely. So the two things that I would say to that investor are, first, we have put a huge amount of effort into ensuring that we have the trading volume to get through those warrant exercise dates. I know that there's big warrant counts. So like in May, there's 42 million warrants with a strike price of $1 that expire in the May of this year. So like in 4.5 months. So 42 million, that's a lot. But I bet today we'll trade 10 million shares. Like today's a particularly big day. We average 1 to 5 million shares a day. So we have the volume, and we have worked really hard to establish that volume, specifically because of the structure that we have. We're very aware of those warrants. So that's one answer, is that I think we can eat through those walls when they happen. And the second answer is, if those warrants come in, yep, that's dilution, but there is a lot of value that we can create for West Red Lake shareholders with another $40 million in the bank. So I would say, I would suggest spending a little bit of time just considering what this management team is looking at when it sees that potential for $42 million, right? What can we do to turn that into a multiple of that in terms of value for our shareholders? That's our perspective. So yes, dilution is real and it's undesired. I get it. I'm a shareholder too. But there's a lot of value that we can create, whether it's unlocking more things sooner at Madsen, or whether it's, looking outside of the assets that we have today and seeing where we can find the next leg of growth for the company. So, or addressing debt that we have, right? We do have a debt facility with Nabari. So there's ways that we can make that capital work really well for our shareholders that we're already thinking a lot about. So those are my three answers. I get it. The warrants are real, but this company is undervalued. And if we can trade close to where we're valued and we get those dollars in the door, I suggest that we can put them to very good work.
Very good. And then just a final question prior to wrapping up. Can you tell us about the approximate time frame for the guidance that you're going to put out for 2026? And what other news can we expect in the next 2 to 3 months?
Yeah, for sure. So we'll put out guidance. It's January 12th today. I would guess that it'll be in a month. Right, middle of February, middle of Q1 is a really common time for producers to put out guidance, get a little bit of the year under your belt. And again, we are in ramp up. We certainly have a very detailed mine plan, but we want to it would be really useful for us to get one more month get our first month of commercial operations under our belt to firm up those numbers. Because of course we want to make sure that we give really confident numbers and guidance. So we're getting there. Expect that in about a month. As for news between now and then, I mean, there's 3 different areas where we're drilling that we should be able to put out drill results from in the next month. So that 904 area deep in Madsen, where we're excited about potentially delineating another nice high-grade zone in the operating mine that's like part of the current mine plan. Fork, where of course we're doing 3,000 meters of drilling from surface to pull that to what we'll call a construction decision, which is the decision to start driving that 250-meter tunnel over so that we can get to that zone to bring it into mining in this year. And then Rowan, where we're doing all that drill work to get that thing from a PEA so that it can be part of the PFS that we put out. So all of those are going to happen in the next little while. And then Shane and I just need to get out there and help everybody understand why we're confident that, we haven't just achieved this commercial production, but we've set this mine up so that it can keep having this success. We're really excited to get out and make sure that everybody sort of understands why our approach fits the mine.
Gwen, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.